Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's finally Friday, and I'm in the mood to try to be a little funny today, if I can. I'm no stand-up comedian, but I'll do my best. I'm not going to try to be a stand-up while I'm sitting here driving. But anyway, oh, man. First and foremost, okay, life right now, in a lot of ways, is like watching a really, really bad movie. I mean, a really bad movie. It's like bad actors, bad script, bad everything. I want to go to the manager and demand my money back. I mean, it's just like, this is terrible. I mean, this is just horrible. I mean, on a serious note, before I get into and try to be a little more humorous and lighthearted to a certain extent. I mean, the school year just started, okay? And already we've got shootings at bus stops, kids getting killed or injured, on the bus. Either the bus driver can't drive or, I don't know, the roads are that bad. And I find it very interesting that apparently a lot of the seats have really good seat belts on these school buses in certain areas. I mean, not just the lap strap, but the shoulder as well, like driving in a front seat of a vehicle. But I very seriously doubt that a lot of the kids use them, and I'm very sure that the bus driver probably doesn't. Not knocking the bus drivers. I mean, I know they got a lot on their mind, a lot on their plate and everything, getting these kids safely to and from school. But I'm very sure they probably don't check to make sure that every kid is strapped in on the bus either. I mean, I could be wrong, but I very seriously doubt that. Right? But the school year just started. It just started. I don't know how many people have been paying attention to this, but it's like, I'm blown away by how many children have been injured or unfortunately killed or kidnapped or missing or injured from the bus, on the bus, outside the bus, in the bus, and the bus going off of, the road. And it's insanity, right? It's just crazy. Right? On top of all that, I lost track of how many shootings there's been in store parking lots, wherever. Traffic stops, you name it. No place is safe. Out in public, just people walking, jogging. I lost track. At bars, wherever, wherever people hang out at, I lost track. And how many deputies, I don't know about police officers, I'm sure them too, but specifically deputies have been shot as well. Some killed, unfortunately. And I'm thinking to myself, man, eventually they're just going to start shooting first and asking questions later. Because they're getting tired of getting shot. They're getting tired of getting assaulted. They're getting tired of, being threatened. And I know this very controversial issue with law enforcement right now. I get all that. But what it boils down to is everybody's a human being. Nobody wants to get shot, stabbed, threatened, or, assaulted, anything of that nature, right? We have become totally animalistic in this society, and I'll explain that. And I'm going to try to be a little humorous about it too, because it's a bad movie, man. I mean, this is just a bad movie. Like I said, bad actors, bad script. It's just, it reminds me of things I've heard and seen over the years, that I just, they're just all coming back to me now. I mean, and it's to the point where it reminds me a little bit of a Billy Joel song, "We Didn't Start the Fire." I mean, I'm not so sure about that. But at the end of that song, he says, he yells, he goes, "I can't take it anymore." It's like, yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's gotten that insane. It's gotten that crazy. It's gotten that stupid now. All right? I'll give you an example, okay? The humorous things that I've seen, okay? Because everything is just so intense and so violent and so chaotic and so crazy and so insane. And it's like, of course, we got the summit today. And I think it's all staged. I mean, call me cynical or what. I think like I said, it's a bad movie. To me, it's just a bad movie. And I think a lot of this is staged. I couldn't care less about not the state of Alaska or the people of Alaska, but what's happening in Alaska. Now, I couldn't care less about today. I don't care. People say, how could you not care? This is important. Is it really? I guess we'll find out. I don't know. But I really don't care. Because after a while, you just get tired of being lied to. You get tired of being led along, strung along. You get tired of the bad script, the bad acting, the bad everything, getting your intelligence insulted, being treated like you're an idiot. Don't you just get tired of it? But then I saw earlier, I wanted to look at some more lighthearted news. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it lighthearted, but I think this kind of proves my point. That this is bad acting, a bad script, Maybe some people say, oh no, this is real. There wasn't an act, it wasn't staged. Okay. I don't think one of them was, but the other one wasn't. The first one I'll get to is the one that I don't think was staged, because there was a previous issue with these idiots. That's what they are, these Babylonian idiots, these morons, at a public place in Polk County, Florida. I guess it was a waterway or what have you that a lot of families go to and try to enjoy themselves. And I guess these morons had already had issues before, and they didn't like each other. They used to be friends, and somehow they wind up meeting at the same place or whatever, and an argument ensues and fights break out. And I'm watching all of this at the Sheriff Grady Judd press conference from Polk County, Florida, anyway. And I'm watching this, and the first thing that comes to my mind is all these people get arrested. Not all of them, but a lot of them get arrested, right? Because they're actually on private property, too. And apparently there was a sign put up, no trespassing by order of the sheriff, but nobody cares. This is a lawless society. People do whatever they want, whenever they want, right? Nobody cares. So a fight breaks out, all right? And the first thing I notice, because this is just who I am, right? is this dude just gets cold-cocked, man. I mean, one punch, complete knockout. I mean, he just falls like a tree. Timber! I mean, boom! On the ground, done for, right? And so that's what I noticed first. I just started laughing. I'm like, oh, man! That dude got jacked. I was like, whoa. It's like, rewind that. I'm a sick puppy. What can I say? But, I mean, it reminded me of like real life Mike Tyson punch out. I was just like, one punch and he was done for. He was out for the count. And then this girl, maybe it's his girlfriend or whatever else, these Babylonian whores, okay? Oh, that's not being nice. Okay, well, what do you call a woman wearing a thong, okay, where everybody can see their backside? Why anybody would want to have a string up their butt is beyond me. I couldn't do that. How do you do that? If you're a woman that wears a thong out there, which I very seriously doubt if you listen to me, but how do you have a string up your butt? Why don't you just take floss and shove it up your rectum? I don't understand. I don't understand how people do this, But anyway, these two women, they get out and, they've got a thong on, so you're seeing their whole butt, their backside and everything as they get out of the pool, because it all surrounds this above ground pool, And the worst CPR I've ever seen in my life. This woman steps over the top of this guy, or one leg is on either side of him, right? And she just starts pumping on his chest. And I'm just like, what, have you never seen you've seen ER in your life? Probably not. They're probably too young for ER. But have you never seen a medical movie or medical show in your life? You've never seen anybody do CPR ever in your entire life? So yeah, so basically she's hovering over the top of him and bending over and using her hands kind of like in the proper way that you would do CPR. And she just starts pumping on his chest, thinking that he's dead, I guess. No, dude, the dude got knocked out. That's what happened. Your boyfriend or friend or whatever, he got cold-cocked, man. He got knocked out. So she's doing CPR. And then these other guys are fighting, and they've got each other in headlocks, if you want to call it fighting, and it's just pathetic and pitiful. And there's little children around. And so they call it a riot, basically. They say a riot breaks out. And so they arrest like 8 or 10 of these people, and Grady Judd's up there doing the press conference. I guess this happened a few days ago. And he's basically telling people if they can't behave themselves, And if they're not going to follow the law, and if they're going to trespass on people's private property, and it says by order of the sheriff, expect to get arrested. No more Mr. Nice Guy kind of thing, right? But this proves that people have just turned into animals. Actually, it's probably insulting to animals to say that people, because animals do what they do. They do what God created them to do. You know, I mean, they're animals, okay? People, they have no excuse. I mean, somebody's caught defecating in someone's backyard. I guess they couldn't get to the bathroom in time. There's no porta potties. They can't knock on someone's door and, you know, and say, excuse me, can I use your restroom? You can't get in a car and go to a local gas station. No, they just do their business in someone's backyard. Like an animal, okay? And then the worst part is these two Babylonian sodomites, you know, basically, I mean, you tell me, all right, you say, hey, you're being judgmental, you're being harsh, you're being mean. Okay, you tell me, all right, basically conduct sex acts against a tree, and it looked like basically on the edge of a pool or something like that. You know, this man and this woman in public, these deviants in public are doing this stuff. Where everybody can see it, it's all on camera, you know, people take video or take pictures or whatever else. It's like, have you never heard of a hotel room? A bedroom? Any private area at all? Even a porta potty? A tent? I mean, are you serious? People are animals. They have become totally animalistic. I mean, you tell me, you know? I mean, it reminds me of, a couple things before I get to the other thing I saw. You know, I was talking to my brother not long ago, you know, and I was talking about the Babylonian beast system, which is basically the workplace, you know, and he was just laughing. He thought that was funny because he's not used to someone like me. I mean, he's not clueless, but he doesn't hang out with people like me or talk to people like me, you know, so he just thought, he goes, I've never heard it put that way. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's put it this way. You know, I said, I believe this is Mystery Babylon. So if we live in Mystery Babylon in the United States, and if people don't know Jesus as their Lord and Savior, you know, and if they live in Babylon, then that would make them a Babylonian, right? I mean, it's common sense. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So, you know, so if you work in the workforce, you know, and if you work for people that mostly likely do not know Jesus as their Lord and Savior, you know, so they are not separated out of Babylon, you know, and so spiritually speaking, you know, we all live here geographically in Babylon, but if you're separated out of Babylon because you serve the Lord, and it's just like, but if you're still in the Babylonian beast system, well, then there you go. Then you still in the workforce today. It's called the Babylonian beast system, at least in my mind. I said, but you got to consider, you know, you got to remember, it's just like the way I think, I'm kind of like a cross between Hank Hill and Dale Gribble, you know. So it's like, if you've ever seen King of the Hill, watch the show or whatever, whether it's the reboot or the old version or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like, that's kind of how I think. I don't expect most people to think like me or agree with me or whatever, because I think outside the box in that way. That's kind of how I think. So anyway, so we were having a good conversation, and I was joking with somebody yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I hadn't seen them in a while. They hadn't seen me, one of my stops. And, very friendly person or whatever. And I asked them where they'd been, and they said, oh, I've been traveling the world. And I said, oh, wow, I'm glad you got back alive. And they started laughing. And I said, no, I'm serious. I said, the world's a dangerous place, you know. And we couldn't continue our conversation much longer. I had things to do. But I was just like, I started thinking, I was like, I said, if you're an American and you're a world traveler now, you either got a death wish or you've got really, really good security, because they don't like us around the world for the most part. Maybe certain areas, but a lot of areas, they don't like us. And who can blame them? They see what's going on. They hear what's going on. They see our dictator-in-chief, the dumpster, and the dumpster fire regime. I mean, they know what's going on. They see it all. So who can blame them, right? Who can blame for not liking Americans? Anyway, just my opinion, my musings on that. But then the last thing I saw, oh man, to me this is hilarious. That's why I say this is a bad movie, man. Bad actors, bad script. I mean, just B-rated stuff, okay? Maybe this wasn't scripted. Maybe not. but it sure looked scripted to me. I watched it over and over and over again. The DC thing, right? I guess they have all these ICE officers, CBP, whatever, law enforcement officers lined up on the sidewalk against this building. And supposedly it was this DOJ employee that gets fired, and he walks up and he's wearing shorts and, you know, I guess tennis shoes and like a polo shirt or whatever. And you can't hear what he's saying, but I'm thinking to myself, this is just, I'm just going to say it, piss poor officer safety. Okay, it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. There are ways that you keep your distance from someone, okay? Nobody has to be up in anybody's face unless you're really, really hard of hearing, and you can hear him pretty well, okay? So this guy's standing there, the officer, okay, and he's got his hands up, you know, kind of like tucked underneath his body armor, I guess. Big no-no. I mean, they're just standing there, kind of like, you know, when someone approaches you, okay, you get in like what a 45-degree stance. They call it the interview stance already. So it's basically a fighting stance where you have your weight evenly distributed on both feet, and it's like a 45-degree stance. They call it the interview stance because if you were taking notes with a notebook or whatever, that's how you would talk to people. And you don't let anybody get up in your face. You if they start walking up, it's like, excuse me, sir, or ma'am, can I help you? You know, and it's just like, yeah, I just have a question for you. It's like, that, I can hear you from there. And like, oh, that's rude. No, that's called officer safety. Okay? You don't know what their intention is. So you don't let them get up in your face. Well, that's the first thing I noticed in this thing. I'm like, all right. So doofus walks up into the officer's face, right? And he's holding a wrapped Subway sandwich in his hand. And I guess this happened like, I don't know, last night, day before, whatever, in DC. Officer still standing there, they're talking, got his hands, you know, like I said, up on his chest, but tucked underneath his body armor. And I'm thinking, okay, I guess you're not really ready to respond or react, in my opinion, because you're not in an interview stance. You're not ready, you know, for something that may occur. In my opinion, maybe things have changed so much and this doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. It's been quite a while since I've been out of security and law enforcement. But that's what I was taught. That's the way I was taught. That's the way I conducted my business. Anyway, so it's like it's in slow motion. Like you can see it coming, right? The guy takes the sandwich, right? And apparently this is a DOJ employee, and it cracks me up. Pam Bondi is like, he allegedly threw the sandwich at the, allegedly? What video are you watching? He takes the sandwich, right? and he cocks it back and he whips it at the officer's chest. So immediately he and his buddies or whatever, the guy starts running. I'm thinking, man, this is just stupid. This is just dumb. You know, I'm thinking to myself, oh, so he takes off running and they chase him. Now, in my 20s and 30s, when I was really young and dumb and cocky, I probably would have done the same thing. At my age now, this is my thinking. This is my way of thinking, okay? This fool takes his wrapped Subway sandwich, you know, and he whips it at my chest, okay? And I'm wearing body armor. It's like he's not hurting me. Might as well just throw a Nerf football at me or something, hit me in the chest with it. It doesn't hurt at all. And this is how I'm thinking. I'm like, this fool just threw away a $13 sandwich, because that's pretty much how much Subway sandwiches are now. I don't know if people realize that or not. Go online or whatever. It's insane how much they want for a foot-long Subway sandwich, you know? So I'm thinking to myself, man, that's lunch. That's dinner. I'm like, unless it's something really gross that I can't eat or something, I'm thinking, thanks, dude. You know, I mean, because it's a wrapped sandwich. And I'm like, hey, guys, you know. No, if my partners, you know, if they're dumb enough to go chase him, you know, hey, he just assaulted you with a sandwich. I mean, what's the charge going to be, you know? Deadly assault with a sandwich? I mean, come on. I mean, I know it's assault, technically. You throw a sandwich, you hit somebody in the chest. But it's not like you spat in their face. I mean, that's different, Okay, or it's not like Napoleon Dynamite, where Uncle Rico, throws the steak and hits Napoleon in the face with it, knocks his glasses off, knocks him off the bike, and when Napoleon chases him down, gets him in a headlock. I'd probably do the same thing. Somebody hits me in the face with something, with a steak or something hard or something that can injure me or hurt me, or spits in my face or something. It's a little different story then, But a wrapped Subway sandwich, I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I've got lunch. it's like, because it's wrapped. And I'm thinking, hey, time for a break, guys. And if my fool partners, they go and they chase him down, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to eat my sandwich and mind my own business. Go find a private place and have a lunch, or dinner or whatever. That's the way I'm thinking now. I'm like, man, thanks for the free food, pal. That's how I think. But at the same time, though, it's like, this is staged, man. Because it's like it was a slow motion. He brings his hand back and he just whips the sandwich at the officer's chest and hits him right in the chest with it. And I just like, and then they all just run after him. I'm like, I've seen this in a movie before. Probably a really bad comedy movie. I don't know what. I know it wasn't Napoleon Dynamite, that's what came to mind, but it's something else where somebody does something stupid to divert an officer or distract an officer, and and then the officer chases him, and then somebody else is able to commit a crime or something. I don't know what it is. They distract and divert somebody. It's some comedy movie. I've seen it before, and I'm just like, but this is real life, supposedly. It's just a bad movie. I mean, we're just in a really, really bad movie. Bad actor, bad script, B-rated garbage, demand your money back kind of thing. So, like I said, I just can't take most of this stuff seriously. I mean, it's like, yeah, you have to take it seriously. I was like, maybe. I don't know. Wake me up when the Marines hit the street. I mean, seriously. I'm not bashing the National Guard, okay? But these guys are citizen soldiers for the most part. Now, maybe things have changed a lot since I've gotten out of the military, and they've trained them a whole lot more and better and so forth. But these are your weekend warrior types for the most part. These are your citizen soldiers. These are the guys that get deployed, when national disasters hit or whatever, and they hand out food, and at least that's what they're supposed to do. And they assist people, assist their community and so forth. I mean, I know it's changed since they started deploying the National Guard overseas and whatnot, and hopefully they've trained them a whole lot better. But detaining and arresting people, everything. I'm just thinking to myself, if it's Marines out there or regular Army, like in the movie The Siege, I'm taking this a whole lot more seriously. Because they're trained in that way. Especially Marines. They're trained to hurt and kill if they have to. They're trained to, control the threat. They're trained. I'm not saying that these National Guard guys aren't. But it's been my experience dealing with both, for the most part, reservists, National Guard people. They're not the most highly trained, and they're not always the sharpest tools in the shed, if you get my drift. These are guys that they just want money for college or whatever, a part-time job. They go through a boot camp. Yeah, they go through boot camp or whatever, but it's 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year. A lot of them probably do work that has absolutely nothing to do with being a National Guard member. Like I said, I know it sounds like I'm really bashing National Guard. It's just been my experience. Like I said, maybe a lot has changed. But I remember 3 Doors Down, the rock group 3 Doors Down, actually performed a song called Citizen Soldier, which if you look at the lyrics of that song, that describes what National Guard does. I mean, they are there to support the community, to help people in disasters, to help people, that need assistance, with environmental issues, disasters, or, whether staged or unstaged, planned, unplanned, whatever the case may be. They're not supposed to be patrolling the streets like police officers. That's not their job. At least it didn't used to be. So like I said, me personally, I'm like, all right, Marines, you put a battalion of Marines out there or something. All right, now I'm paying attention. Regular Army, like I said, like in the movie The Siege, now you've got my attention. But citizen soldiers, National Guard members, I'm like, Even when you put the tanks and the MRAPs and the Humvees and the everything else on the street, I'm like, Tanks, that would be pretty serious. You put a bunch of M1 Abrams out there. I'm like, okay, all right, you mean business now. But right now, I'm just thinking, this is a show of force. They're, you know, I don't know what they're doing. I can't explain any of it. Like I said, it's a bad movie. It's just a bad movie. And, you know, and the Subway sandwich guy, apparently they arrested him. He lost his job, this and that. They chased him down, you know, assault with a deadly sandwich, you know. I guess that's the charge. I don't know. But I'm thinking to myself, man, that's free food. That's a $13 sandwich this fool just threw at me. I'm eating this sucker. Anyway, I just had to be humorous. It's Friday. Enough's enough of this week. Thank God. Thank the good Lord. I mean, it's hot as blazes again. It's like, I hope you are safe this weekend. Have a good weekend. I don't think much is going to go down with Alaska and the aftermath of this. I could be wrong, but I don't really have anything in my spirit about it. Yeah, I'm watching the 18th. I can't get that out of my heart, in my head. I don't know exactly why. I'm watching the 18th right after the summit. Maybe they pull some junk. I don't know. But, we'll see. I hope everybody can enjoy their weekend and get out, get some exercise, fresh air, whatever. It's not too hot. And, I mean, just live life, man. Just live life. All right, that's it. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.